Hey everyone, this is AJ Mitnick, and we're gonna have our second episode of Balkan League Loophole, where we're gonna look at the Israeli basketball teams that are playing in the Balkan League, which really, today's games weren't exactly the highest level basketball games that we've seen in a while, especially coming off of the NBA bubble. But it really is pretty special that there's at least basketball going on with everything that's going on in the world. What do you think about tonight's games, Ronnie?
I definitely agree with you. I mean, it was just great to have basketball back. We had a little bit of a teaser with the Winter Cup. It was nice to be back for a little bit, and then the government took it away from us with the lockdown. So I'm really happy that they were able to figure out some sort of creative solution to come back to basketball in Israel. It's really nice.
Yeah, for those of you guys out there watching this that don't know Ronnie Levy, I've known him for quite a few years. A Brooklyn guy that, we met in NBA Summer League when both of us were a little bit younger, a little bit less facial hair. And Ronnie came and worked for Bnei Herzliya as an assistant coach for 2 seasons in Israeli League and FIBA Europe Cup. And now he's an up-and-coming agent with Sababa Basket. Hopefully, we'll be able to get his foot in. Now it's actually a pretty tough time to be starting, the beginning of your agent career during the coronavirus, obviously. But I wish you the best of luck. And, now, you know, we just finished our first 4 games of the Balkan League. I'd say the only really competitive game was Jerusalem against Rishon, which went into overtime. That Jerusalem won in the end after a very dramatic finish to the fourth quarter. What are some of your thoughts from the game, Ronnie?
It was a really interesting game to watch. I mean, it was crazy because Jerusalem was down 7 with like 2 minutes to go, and they somehow pulled it out, forcing overtime. I think the referees helped them out a little bit, but overall, like, you got to credit Rishon. Like, they played really hard. Daryl Monroe and Isaiah Taylor were really solid tonight, but Jerusalem found a way to pull it out.
Yeah, definitely that foul they called on Noam Dobrat down the stretch. I think that isn't really a call that should be called in crunch time of any game, to be
I kind
honest.
of agree with
But
you.
I think if you go back and look at it, there definitely was some contact. I don't know if there was enough contact to make a call in money time, but it's why the referees get paid and not me. Um, I think for me, like just in terms of from a coaching standpoint, the play I liked the most in the game was Isaiah Taylor's screen on the sideline out of bounds with I believe it was 7 seconds left. That got Akil Mitchell that layup. That really Isaiah Taylor set an amazing screen that got forced the switch to get Mitchell on Chris Kramer. That really was like just as a basketball coach, sit there and tell guys the importance of setting good screens. It really was a nice one.
And
Um,
credit Chris Kramer a little bit for that flop. He kind of sold it. He had me for a second. I had to watch the replay just to be sure.
he didn't get the call though.
He didn't get the call, but he almost sold it.
Yeah, and Tashawn Thomas with 2 very critical plays down the stretch, taking a charge on Golan Gut on what would have been an easy dump off to Mitchell that would have put the game away for Rishon, I think. And then coming down the other way and seeing the help coming off of a post feed and hitting Hill, I believe, for a 3-pointer that brought the game to overtime. I think that was really 2 big plays down the stretch. That Thomas really both sides of the ball, since he's been in Israel, has really shown that he's one of the highest energy players there is out there. So he really was an important player tonight.
Yeah, Thomas is big time. But credit Malcolm Hill. Jerusalem it was a really nice signing for them to bring him in. He was leading scorer in VTB last year. Came in, hit a big shot. Didn't really impress so much in the BCL, but really impressed by him tonight. Hit a nice shot in crunch time that forced an overtime and eventually led to Jerusalem just took over in the end, and Rishon couldn't do anything to stop all that talent. Credit Rishon also for putting up an effort playing with only 3 foreigners.
Playing with only 3 foreigners and playing without Tishman, so it was really Golan Gut and young guys that Rishon. I think they're going to be a really exciting team this year. I'm assuming they're going to sign a fourth American at some point. It's very Rishon style to wait and get on a good budget a great player. It wouldn't be even close to the first time that they've done that. And it's also a team that Noam Dovrat, who's been spoken about many times. And I spoke yesterday with a sports rabbi where he's talking about him like he's maybe an NBA prospect. That this will be really a good chance for him to get his legs. Noam Avivi, who we both have coached, I think we both have a nice affection for Avivi. That he looked pretty good tonight. Made a couple.
He hit a three-pointer.
Couple nice,
I was proud of him.
Hit a three-pointer. Give good energy. I think him, Fleischer, even Tal Pellet, that's really a knockdown shooter. I think he can maybe at some point give him some minutes. I think Rishon, that group of Rishon, Jerusalem, Beersheba, I think Rishon or Jerusalem would both advance if they were in the same group.
Yeah, definitely agree. It's a
That
tough group to be in.
And I could say for Jerusalem, after the way they looked in BCL, which really, it was a tough preparation. It was, I'd say, an outlier game for them. It was really important for the way Hill, Kramer, and Phillip played tonight. And I feel like most of the doubt surrounding their team was with Jacobin Brown injured and James Feldian leaving, if they're going to be able to recreate that, the magic that they had basically in every game besides for their big games against Rishon over the last 2 years, that it looked like, there's something there that they could be a good team. Let's move over to the next game, Gilboa Haifa. What are some of your thoughts from that game?
Well, Gilboa had a really impressive season last year. Coming off of that, they beat Herzliya in the first game of the Winter Cup, and tonight opened up in the Balkan League, looking pretty solid again. Their core of foreigners are really impressive. Isaiah Cousins, I think that was a big-time steal for them. And then the big man from Florida, remind me his name?
Blackshear.
Blackshear, very impressive. I think he had 13 and 13, if I'm not mistaken. He looks like he's going to be one of the most interesting big men. Year after year, Gilboa just finds these young big men, Zach Leday and James Kelly and Greg Whittington, and over. And I think he's just another one in that long line of names that continue to impress. So I think Galil is looking at another really solid year ahead of them.
I think one of the biggest advantages Gilboa had coming into this game is that besides for Blackshear and Cousins, everybody else was on their team last year. They didn't really make any big changes. Chen Kalfon, that was finished the season in Rishon, a young Israeli player.
Right.
He's really the only change that they've made. So they still have their same team identity, their same system. And you could see at the beginning of the game that Haifa came that, they didn't practice for a little while, and guys are still getting to know each other, and a little bit more of a mindset of a preseason. Whereas Gilboa was a team that was a title contender last year and was still kind of running.
Yeah.
But I think as the game went on, Haifa, maybe they didn't start the game so focused, but you could see Dante. He might not be Dante from his last stint in Israel, but he's still Dante. And Byron Nash, really, he looks like a great scorer. And Avi Ben Shimol, I think you have Ben Shimol and Dante Smith on the same team, you're going to have many games where your team has over 20 assists in a game. So I think that Haifa actually showed to me in the second half some really positive signs.
Absolutely. I agree. They still have to get to gel a little bit. I think Chris Dow is also an impressive player. He played in Israel 2 years ago in Ness Ziona, really impressed me. I think he played in Turkey last year, and now he's back here. So Haifa has some really interesting pieces. Let's see if they can put it together. Right now, they're in the hole in the Balkan League, but it's still early. Still anyone's game.
Now, obviously you got the elephant in the room. Both our former teams, Bnei Herzliya, playing against Hapoel Haifa. That was both of their first games. I think maybe if you count the winner, but first time back in first division after both being in second division last year. Hapoel Haifa hasn't been in for a while. And what were some of your thoughts from that game? It was really a lopsided event from the first minute.
Well, it was nice to see Herzliya take over. I think I can say I really enjoyed my time coaching in Herzliya. I love spending time there, and I'll always root for them. I always want to see them be successful. Off the bat, I'll just say Gabe Levine, I think, has a chance to be the most valuable Israeli in the league this year if he can stay healthy. That's always been a question with him. And I think they have
when they
really
went back
impressive.
when they went back to the broadcast at the end of the game, he went for a dunk with like a minute 58 left, and I forget who it was that went for a block. He landed kind of funny. It took him a few minutes to get up, and I thought maybe, here we go again. But luckily, he got back up. So, yeah, and Gabe Levine, it's really all just a question of whether he can stay healthy for a full season. I think everybody knows he's a great player.
Absolutely. Super athlete, can stretch the floor. Really, there's not much he can't do on the floor. And then combined with all the new foreigners they brought in, I think they have a really impressive unit. Cody Clark is a really high-level player coming, NBA, EuroLeague. They brought the guy from Virtus Bologna, and they have a
Frank
really
Gaines,
nice group
good
of
player.
Frank Gaines, right? And they have the two guys who were on the team last year who helped bring them back up from second division. And then you have Hanochi and Kadir, two really good veteran presences on the roster. And you got the kid, Yair Kravitz, who I think is a really good shooter. So all around, a really solid roster. And then on the other side, Hapoel Haifa is, I think, they're an interesting club. They've got our guy, Karam Mashur, on the team. We both love him dearly. And they still have a lot of work ahead of them. I think they have an interesting unit. But, we'll see how the season develops for them. But based on looking at tonight, I think they have a lot of work cut out for them.
Yeah, I would say that Hapoel Haifa looked tonight like they were really clearly in preseason mode. Like they just weren't in good shape. And I think that's something that we haven't really seen in basketball up until now. It seems by the time they get to game one of the regular season, most teams are in shape. And I think tonight, like you saw Maccabi Haifa didn't look like they were in good shape. Hapoel Haifa didn't look like they were in good shape. That, you can make excuses. Like in a normal year, you would say, blah, blah, blah. These guys are making excuses again. But I think when there's international crisis that causes a shutdown in your country, there's a little bit of an excuse to not be in as good of shape as normal. But I think Hapoel Haifa, they got weapons. They brought guys that moved them up. They got Karim. They got Amit Simchon. They got Ben Svi, who probably was the most improved player of any Israeli during the coronavirus restart. I think that they got something. We got our last game was Hapoel Holon versus Ness Ziona. That was Hapoel Holon's first official game that they played since they didn't play in Winter League before the cancellation for the coronavirus, and it was Ness Ziona. Ness Ziona kind of surprised me because they weren't shut down during the shutdown. They were still able to practice because. Obviously they're playing FIBA Europe Cup. Even though FIBA Europe Cup's been pushed back since they're in an international tournament, they were still allowed to practice. And they also just didn't look like they were in good shape. It didn't look necessarily like they had, they were using some of the same schemes Brad Greenberg has used in the past at work. They're playing a lot of the same lineups like Brad Greenberg would play with his past teams, playing big lineups. And I think the formula is there for it to be a good team. I think this year is a little bit different year than other years. So I think most likely teams are going to be minimal in how much changes they make as we go along. There might be injuries as you go along, but I think teams are going to be less quick to just change players. I think the chemistry is the ingredients are there. I just think that they need to get themselves into a little bit better shape. What were some of your thoughts for the game?
Well, I was impressed by Holon. I gotta say, all four of their foreigners in double digits. That was impressive. Did their jobs offensively. I think they came really ready to play. Stefanos is, in my opinion, one of the better coaches in the league. Like, they just came really, really ready to go off the bat. Obviously, they have two veteran leaders in Yogev Ohayon and Guy Panini, who will always come ready to play. And on Ness Ziona's end, I don't know. They gotta figure it out. I think they were having some issues with health during training camp, trying to get some full 5-on-5 practices, and maybe that was holding them back a little bit. Maybe Brad was running them too much in practice, and that's why they didn't come ready to the game. I don't know, but they definitely have some work to do. I like Jordan Murphy. I thought he really showed out tonight. Like in terms of his ability to rebound the ball is impressive. I think he can end up being one of the better big men in this league. So that was a bright spot for them for sure. I think Nimrod Levy really needs to continue to find himself. He generally tends to thrive playing under Brad Greenberg, so I think that will come for him. However, the way it looked tonight, it seemed like Holon just had their number.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're going to see that a lot, at least from the first early parts of the season, whether that'll be Balkan League or Israeli League. Like, well, if the Israeli League, hopefully they'll announce in the next few days that it'll be coming back at some point soon. I think you're going to see a lot of randomness. I mean, anyway, during the course of a full season, you have some games where one team comes out flat, another team just really has a good shooting night. But I think in general, you're going to see many more games where just a team comes out looking like they don't have a rhythm, looking like they're just not focused. The reality of the situation is that players got a lot on their mind. Like practice schedule hasn't really been so consistent that the sometimes like poor performance can come from lack of preparation. As coaches in a normal year, the onus is on us. The onus is on the players to be keeping yourself in shape and to be continuously going diligently about your work. And I think now players are in a situation where they're just doing the best they can. They just don't have the same conditions as in a normal year. You got any other last thoughts like about tonight's games or in general?
Just happy to be back to watch some basketball again. It's really nice. I'm looking forward to the Winter League coming back soon, and hopefully all the other leagues, and hopefully this virus can be over soon, and no more postponements of games.
Yeah, I mean, with the EuroLeague, it's looking like things might get a little bit interesting around European basketball, just in terms of coronavirus outbreak. But I'd say my final thoughts, not really basketball connected. Just going from watching the NBA bubble to directly after this watching the Balkan League. I think either hopefully, you know, obviously we all hope that things change and we'll have fans in the stands. But if they're not going to have fans in the stands, Rishon, I was there for a little while, guys. You got to do something about like how the way the stands work. That was a really close game, went to overtime, and it seemed like I was watching film of a practice at the end of the game. You see the empty stands, you have like the stands behind the basket, still in. Like you can hear like clapping of like the players like after like a big shot. Like they gotta either like put something over the chairs or gotta have the camera angle to kind of blur out like that you don't see that there's no fans, but they gotta do something, to make. I mean, I hope that fans at home were hyped up from this game, but I think it was like I couldn't really imagine somebody getting up and making a big fist pump after one of those big plays. It just seemed like it was low energy from the broadcast level. I hope
It
they
felt
find a
like
way
one of
to
those scrimmage games.
just like the players got to get in good shape. I think the broadcast has to get in good shape too.
I agree. But it's early. Everyone's still getting back into the swing of things. We'll give them a little bit of a grace period. We're just happy to have basketball back.
Yeah, Ronnie, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate you. And anybody out there, a young basketball player looking for a new agent, you got your boy up and coming, Ronnie Levi with Savava Basket. And hopefully we'll be in touch soon, Ron.
Thank you. We'll speak
Take
soon.
care.